This is the NFL Week 3 predictions. Hi, I am Chase Oliver 68 for all you guys do not know. If there's a prediction I made in this video and I did not get to it, comment down below and I'll send you a private message of my thoughts on that game if you ask me for that game. And if you guys want predictions for a Week 4 game that you want to see for next week instead of the same old Sunday night, Monday night, and 2 random afternoon games, post that in the comment section down below. So let's get started. This is actually a request from a fan. He asked me to do predictions for Houston versus New Orleans. So Houston, dynamic offense. You got Matt Schaub at quarterback. You got Andre Johnson at receiver. You got 2 good running backs in Tate and Foster. What more can you ask for? Offensive line pretty good in the NFL. Opens up those holes for Tate and Foster to run through. Both elusive backs, both very fast and powerful backs. The only problem I have to say with the Houston Texans is most of the time, they do good when it comes on offense. Matt Schaub throws his balls and everything. But the thing is, they're not consistently always getting touchdowns. If you notice, the Texans don't really get that many touchdowns when it comes down to it. They normally rely on Neil Rackers, the kicker, to kick most of their points. And they did squeeze out a win in Miami last week. The Texans are 2-0, leading the AFC South. They're feeling good about themselves, going into an interconference battle against the Saints, who are 1-1. But to me, the Saints look very impressive. And granted, this was against a Jay Cutler offensive line, a Chicago Bears offensive line, I should say. Chicago Bears offensive line was so inconsistent last year, allowing Cutler to get sacked in like 52 times last year, I believe. So really, if you think about it, this is a different offensive line the Saints defense is going to be going against, not a Chicago Bears offensive line, which is very young. This offensive line is very good at what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They've been working with the system. They trust in Matt Schaub and they trust in Arian Foster. They missed some of their blocking assignments. He'll find a cutback lane and try to run through that to gain at least 4 yards. So basically, what I'm getting at is Texans. They do look like a good team. They do. They have all the capabilities of making the playoffs this year, especially with the AFC South. Don't count the Tennessee Titans out. Don't count the Jaguars out. Those teams can shock you in the AFC South. Like, I'm not saying Texans are going to be perfect in the AFC South, but without Peyton Manning in that quarterback position for the Colts, it really, really suffers down the Colts' stock of making the playoffs and opens up the rest of the AFC South to, kind of push in and get that chance. So, really, this battle for the for the Texans is going to be a hard one. They need to really get touchdowns. They can't settle down for these field goal kicks because Drew Brees, he showed that even without some of his prime targets in a Lance Moore and a Marquise Colston or whoever's injured there, that he can find targets. Drew Brees knows where to find targets. If you're open, Drew Brees will throw it to you. He's a smart quarterback. He knows what he's doing. And the Texans defense really, really needs to get pressure on Drew Brees quick. Because if Drew Brees gets a little bit of pressure in his face, especially later on in the third quarter, that's when Drew Brees kind of starts to perform very low down there. Because he's not confident and doesn't protect his blocker, trust his blockers that much. And not to mention the weapons that Drew Brees has overall. Even with Darren Sproles, former Chargers running back, he's been showing that he's worked what they wanted out of him. Mark Ingram, still unproven rookie, not really doing that much when it came down to this game against the Bears. And Pierre Thomas showing that he is the reliable back for the Saints. They have that little 3-headed dragon. And like I mentioned before, if you saw a prediction on the Saints, they have Chris Ivory, a sleeping one, that could really surprise people if they do not prepare. Let's say if a Darren Sproles or a Mark Ingram goes down, Chris Ivory is a guy that can surprise people. So what I'm getting at here is the Saints' overall offensive defense looks a little bit better than the Texans because the Saints know how to put points on the board. Drew Brees can find people. Matt Schaub, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. Dude can throw the football. Don't get me wrong. He was the leading passer. Like, he had the most passing yards, I believe, 2 years ago. Most people were scratching their heads and saying, who the fuck is Matt Schaub? Oh, he's the quarterback from the Texans. He had 5,000 yards. He obviously knows how to throw. Andre Johnson, of course, is leading receiver. But, if the Saints can check down Andre Johnson and leave it to where they have to hand it off to Tate and Foster for the whole game and make it where Matt Schaub doesn't have a lot of check down routes to go do, I believe the Saints can win this game. And I feel New Orleans, the way they showed against Chicago, and they showed that, hey, we're ready for this game. We're big. We lost to the Packers. Time to make up for this loss, especially the Saints being at home. And that Superdome is very loud, especially being an inside arena. It could get to the away team's head. So just because the Saints are at home, and I believe the Saints play better at home, overall, I feel the New Orleans Saints are going to win this game. Don't count the Texans out. The next game I'm going to predict is going to be the New York Jets versus the Oakland Raiders. Now, there's many other games that I want to predict. There's Green Bay Packers versus Chicago Bears, but I already talked about the Bears last week, and I didn't want to just keep talking about the Bears and Packers. I like talking about them. They're a fun team to talk about, especially with all their weapons. But I haven't really talked that much about the Jets besides my Week 1 predictions, and the Raiders need some love. I do not like the Oakland Raiders. I'm a Chargers fan, but you cannot deny the Raiders are a good team this year, and this is why. They have Jason Campbell, chicken noodle soup, their quarterback. Very, very trusty, reliable quarterback for the Raiders. He's one of those guys that can surprise you. Many don't give Jason Campbell a lot of credit just because of his time with the Redskins. Well, I guess you don't have to call them the Redskins anymore since they're 2-0, but still. Jason Campbell is one of those guys that can find people open. He's not like a Drew Brees or Tom Brady where he can just throw the ball and he has someone open. He can find it. He can run too. He has those mobile legs people forget. But the one thing the Raiders also have on offense that is very good, and he's finally proving he's worth his stock, is Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden is one of those guys that really, really can shock a lot of people. He's a multi-versatile back. You can throw to him if you need to. He has the speed to outrun everyone. He can rush the football. He had great rushing performance against Buffalo and Denver. Buffalo, if you guys do not remember, kept Jamal Charles in check. Jamal Charles, in my opinion, is a better running back than Darren McFadden. And Darren McFadden really did a number on the Buffalo defense, who kept the Jamal Charles in check. Sadly enough, for all you Chiefs fans, and I'm very sorry for this loss, not only did you lose Eric Berry in Week 1, but you also lost Jamal Charles for the season. I'm not a big fan of the Chiefs. Like I said, I'm a Chargers fan, so do you think I like any teams in the AFC West? But I do not want to see players go down, especially players of that talent in Eric Berry and Jamal Charles. But enough about the Chiefs, talking about the Raiders here. The Raiders overall on offense, they're a good team. Defense, Chris Johnson, we saw, was having troubles with little Stevie Johnson on the Buffalo Bills, and he really needs to figure that shit out. I understand that he's a speed corner. The Raiders have speed corners. They don't really have corners that are physical. They have small little guys that are really fast and can catch up and swat a ball, but they really need to play more physical if they want to win this game against the New York Jets. Now, the Jets, I'll talk about them in a minute, but, really, you look at the receivers for the Jets, you got Plaxico Burress. He's probably bigger than Chris Johnson. You got Santonio Holmes. You got Dustin Keller, a nice little tight end. It looks like a, hard matchup for the Raiders. Though you do have Ronaldo McClain, you have a great D-line, you have Richard Seymour. They kept, Fred Jackson in check a little bit. Not really. They didn't even keep Fred Jackson or C.J. Spiller in check. And that's where the Jets need to take control. They need to establish that run game. Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller, great 1-2 punch. You got Fred Jackson, power back that could run the football really pretty fast. And if you can break a tackle, he is off. You got C.J. Spiller, this fast running back, first-round draft pick last year, can run the football very fast. You got a 1-2 punch combination. And the Jets, they kind of do have that with the Sean Green and LaDainian Tomlinson, an aging one for that matter, where they have that 1-2 punch. The Jets really need to not focus too much on how Mark Sanchez is doing. I get he's your franchise quarterback, guys, but this is a team where you do not want to just rely on your defense. Oakland can find ways to score. If Jason Campbell Chicken Noodle Soup cannot freaking throw the ball because Revis Island is all stalking his favorite target, he's not going to throw the ball. He's going to run. And if Campbell Chicken Noodle Soup basically sees that, Cromartie and freaking Revis are having trouble, are freaking causing his receivers trouble, check down route to Darren McFadden. And Darren McFadden, all he has to do is miss a block from Bart Scott, or maybe run it to the outside and get pushed out of bounds for at least a 10, 11-yard gain. You cannot play very close to the Raiders. Raiders are a good football team this year. And it hates me to say it, but they are. I kind of see them winning the AFC West, in my opinion. But that's another time, another story. But Raiders, they're a good team. And the Jets cannot just say, believe in Sanchez. Sanchez, he's throwing interceptions. He's not really looking like a calm quarterback. He's still not tested to be a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. Yeah, the Jets are 2-0, but really, beating a Jaguars team is okay, and you have to rely on, basically bad luck from the Dallas Cowboys to win your first game. Yeah, Revis is talented. I give him that interception. That's cool. But Mark Sanchez really needs to focus more on finding the right receivers at the right place and play more to the tight end. You look at Cam Newton, a guy who, many people were bashing. People said Cam Newton's going to suck in NFL. NFL analysts said he's going to suck. And Cam Newton, what is he doing? And you also look at a Rex Grossman. You look at those two. Quarterbacks are not really very, very established. They're not like the best quarterbacks. But what do? They play to their tight ends. And that's what Mark Sanchez needs to do. He needs to find his tight end, Dustin Keller, who's a big, strong tight end, and throw it to him most of the time. Dustin Keller should be the main target for the Jets this game if they want to have a chance, because the tight ends will never let you down. Receivers, sometimes they'll slip and fall. You know, they're on the outside. You may throw a ball that's too hard for them to catch. But with tight ends, they're mostly running middle or drag routes. You know, you could easily dump it off to them. And that's what Sanchez needs to do. And not only that, you need to establish Sean Green and freaking LT on that run game and show that you could, if Buffalo, with their two running backs, can run it down your throat, we're their rivals, we can do the same exact thing. You got to prove that. So that basically, in this game, and I hate to say it, I'm just going to predict the Oakland Raiders. I just see the Raiders somehow winning this game, giving the Jets their first loss of their season. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Now we move on to the Sunday night game. We have their Sunday night game, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Indianapolis Colts. Steelers 1-1, Colts 0-2. Ooh. Basically, how I'm going to put it is this. Kerry Collins really needs to get comfortable. Kerry Collins needs to trust his line. Kerry Collins needs to find a way to get to Reggie Wayne or Pierre Garçon. He needs to find a way to throw that football and get it to his receiver's hands. You have great tight end in Dallas Clark. You have an overall good receiving core. You have a good offensive line. You have a nice running back in Joseph Adai to help you out. Trust in them. Take your time. Don't rush shit, and you will do fine. But then again, you're going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got embarrassed by the Ravens last week, 2 weeks ago. And you could tell Mike Tomlin was fucking pissed off about that, because he was like, hey, fuck you, Seattle. Shut them out. Shut up, Seattle. 24-0, you know. Rashad Mendenhall, beast at running back, you know, did his part. Big Ben did his part. Went down early on in the game, but still, you know, it's okay. If Big Ben doesn't play, it's not a big deal. Steelers still have a lot of talent to help them overcome this game. To be honest, just the way the Colts have been playing as of late are unimpressive. Yeah, they scored a couple touchdowns this game, field goals. He's got 16 points on the Browns. Come on, guys, that's the Cleveland Browns. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers, the head honchos next to the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC North. They ain't going to be no Cleveland Browns and let up a lot of yards. I'll be shocked if Kerry Collins literally throws at least 150 yards against the Steelers defense, or even higher than that. If he throws like 300 yards, seriously, I'll make a video on my next NFL predictions punching my nuts and saying, fuck you, Kerry Collins. But I just don't see the Steelers losing. I think the Steelers are like saying, hey, we lost against Baltimore. We want to make a statement. We want to show, hey, Baltimore just lost to the Titans. Let's see how they're going to do in the future against these other teams. So we're going to work our asses off. And I believe the Steelers are going to try to take over the AFC North as they want to every year. Most of the time they are taking over the AFC North. But I feel the Steelers, you know, even without Ben Roethlisberger, I don't think his injury is that serious. I think they'll still win. Their defense is still good. Got James Harrison, Troy Polamalu. List goes on and on about their defense. Their defense is just studly. Got a nice receiver in Mike Wallace. You know, Colts defense really have not been impressing me as of late. Dwight Freeney, you know, usually a guy that you worry about when playing with the Colts. I just don't see him as an impact. Maybe it's because when I watch some of the Colts games on NFL Red Zone, which I watch most of my games on, guys. So when I do these videos, I just watch Red Zone and whatever they show. He just doesn't seem like an impact out there on defense, which is kind of sad, because wasn't he like the number 17 player of the year or some shit like that for the NFL top players of 2011? I don't know. He was high up there. So pretty much what I'm getting at is I just basically see the Pittsburgh Steelers winning this game, and I do not think this game should be Sunday night. Chicago and Green Bay, fuck the world. And then we get some good old NFC East rivalry against the 1-0 Dallas Cowboys and the 2-0 Washington. What? Redskins are not 2-0. Not with Rex Grossman at quarterback. Oh, they are. Oh. Dude, the Redskins have a sign of life? Their defense looks good. They're establishing a tight end in Fred Davis. Rex Grossman's using his tight end. the basically every team that has played them has realized Fred Davis is a threat, starts double covering him, leaving a Santana Moss wide open most of the time. Redskins are looking pretty damn good. Redskins, they're not a team that is going to go down easily. Normally it's just like, oh, it's the Washington Redskins, the Deadskins, they're going to lose this game. They're actually looking pretty good, in my opinion. You know, they're not looking too bad. Tim Hightower is being a good compliment to the Redskins. I think actually having a good running back that is consistent enough, not like a Clinton Portis, someone who's consistent enough like a Tim Hightower, someone who works his balls off every time, is something that the Redskins really needed to maybe boost their offense. I don't know if that's just it. I don't know if Grossman's going to try to make another Super Bowl campaign. But really, the Redskins are looking good. Now, Dallas, on the other hand, I gotta give them props what they did with the 49ers. Tony Romo, as much as people gave you shit last week, give you props for coming back and leading your team to victory even with the rib injury. You proved that you are worth your stock, but we have to wait and see until this game. This game will be important for Dallas. If Dallas loses this game, I'm not saying they're done, but this is a big game for Dallas, and this is a big game for Washington. These two literally are big rivals. Maybe not the biggest in the NFC East. Maybe it's more Dallas, Philadelphia. Maybe it's Philadelphia, NYG. I don't know. But the Redskins do have a win over the New York Giants. They proved that they can beat a good team in the NFL. The Cowboys, they're on that semi-decent good team level. So we will have to wait and see. And Dallas, you know, yeah, they're looking good. Des Bryant looked all right this Sunday. But defense, always looking pretty good. You know, getting the stops when they need to. But really, in all honesty, if they do what they have been doing, the Redskins this whole time, focusing on Fred Davis, getting in the ball, getting Hightower his carries, getting the team to basically trust in Rex Grossman, getting the team to actually believe that he's a good quarterback, and making the defense getting pissed off that the fact, hey, we can't guard this Fred Davis guy. He's just some weird dude that I did not even know existed, and now he's like all of a sudden good, and we have to double cover him, leaving Santana Moss wide open. You know, by all means, I feel the Redskins are going to win this game. I don't hate the Cowboys by any means. I think the Cowboys are a pretty good team, but Cowboys really need to get more out of Felix Jones. They already showed that Tony Romo can pull thunder out of his ass. And if Romo goes down, and if he's not playing this game, John Kitna fucked the world. But I'm going with the Washington Redskins. Give me guys your predictions on the games I predicted down below. Remember, comment down below if you want to see a game that I did not talk about. I'll type it up to you via private message. And also, if you want a game for next week, comment down below. You know, for week 4, of course. But anyways, this is Chase Oliver 68. Follow me on Twitter, Chase Oliver 68. Add me on Skype, Chase Oliver 68 if you want. And pretty much that is about it. Pretty much done here. I'll talk to you all later. Hope you guys all have a good day, and peace.